Welcome to the Global WarWatch Network. So, get this. Iran just made an energy discovery that could seriously shake up the global market. We're talking a hidden gas field with over 10 trillion cubic feet of gas and 200 million barrels of oil. Here's why this could change everything.
Okay, let that number sink in for a second. 10 trillion cubic feet. That's the estimated size of this new natural gas reserve. To give you some perspective, that is a truly monumental amount of energy. I mean, enough to power entire nations. But, as you're about to see, finding it is one thing. Getting it out of the ground is a whole other challenge.
All right, so let's get into it. Is this really the game changer it sounds like? We're going to unpack the numbers behind this massive new energy find and see what's really going on.
You know, the announcement itself came straight from the top. Iran's oil minister, Mohsen. He framed it as this huge moment of national pride, a real blessing for the Iranian people. And that right there tells you just how significant this is for the government.
So where is this thing? It's in what's called the Pazan field, down in southern Iran. And get this, it's not just gas. They also think there are about 200 million barrels of crude oil there. What's really surprising, though, is that they found this after taking a whole 8-year break from even looking at the site. And now, Tehran's talking about starting production in just 40 months. That's ambitious, to say the least.
So, 7,000 days, what does that even mean? Well, think about this. That's how much gas you'd get from nearly 19 years of production from just one phase of the giant South Pars field. And that's the largest natural gas field on the entire planet. So yeah, this discovery isn't just significant, it's a potential giant.
But here's where the story gets really complicated. This discovery, as big as it is, doesn't exist in a vacuum. Nope, it lands smack in the middle of what you could call Iran's great energy paradox. A country sitting on some of the world's largest reserves that is somehow facing crippling energy shortages right at home.
I mean, just look at the stats on paper. They're staggering. Iran holds the world's second largest gas reserves. It's the third largest producer. But, and this is a big but, it's also the fourth largest consumer. So a massive chunk of what they pull out of the ground gets burned for energy right there at home.
And that's where this paradox really starts to bite. Decades of international sanctions have left their energy infrastructure, well, old and super inefficient. It makes it incredibly difficult to actually get to the reserves they know they have, let alone meet the soaring demand from their own people.
You can really see this crisis play out with the seasons. In the winter, daily gas consumption just explodes. It more than doubles, jumping from 250 million cubic meters a day to 650 million. The grid just can't handle it. The infrastructure can't keep up. And that creates a daily shortfall of over 200 million cubic meters. That's gas the country desperately needs, but simply can't get its hands on.
And this isn't just, an inconvenience. It has these huge cascading consequences. That deficit, it leads to frequent blackouts. Those blackouts disrupt factories. They disrupt businesses. To try and keep the lights on, they're forced to burn really polluting fuels like mazout. And the root of the whole problem, that aging infrastructure, well, it can't be fixed because sanctions block them from getting the essential parts and technology they need.
Okay, so as if that domestic crisis wasn't bad enough, it's made even worse by this high-stakes geopolitical race. And it's happening right on their border, out in the waters of the Persian Gulf.
See, Iran shares that massive South Pars gas field with its neighbor Qatar. But man, their stories could not be more different. Qatar got started on their side a full decade earlier. They've already pulled out nearly double the gas. And right now, they're partnering with Western energy giants on a $29 billion expansion. Meanwhile, on Iran's side of the field, it's literally losing pressure. Their production is expected to plummet by over 30% in the next decade.
Now, to stop this decline, to even begin to compete with Qatar, Iran needs these huge offshore compressor platforms. The problem? The technology for those platforms is basically monopolized by Western companies, the same companies that are barred by sanctions from working with Iran, so they're stuck.
So, faced with this, technological and financial blockade, Iran has tried to get creative. They've come up with a new plan, a new solution, to try and lure foreign investment back into their energy sector.
We're talking about a serious amount of cash. The country needs an estimated $60 billion in new investment over the next 10 years, and that's just to keep things running as they are. So the big question is, how on earth do you get foreign companies to commit that kind of money in this kind of environment?
Well, their answer is something called the Iranian Petroleum Contract, or IPC for short. This is their big idea, a whole new legal framework designed to fix all the problems that made their old contracts so unattractive to international firms.
So the new IPC model makes 3 really key changes. First, they're offering much longer contracts. We're talking up to 20 years to give companies some stability. Second, they switched up the payment model to a fee-per-barrel system, which gives companies a real incentive to maximize production. And finally, it allows investors to actually stay involved during the production phase. On the surface, it all sounds like a way better deal, right? However, there's always a however, isn't there? A detailed financial analysis from the University of Dundee paints a very different picture. Their experts took a look and basically concluded that, despite all the changes, the new IPC still acts more like a basic service contract, where a company just gets paid a flat fee, instead of a true production sharing deal where they get a real stake in the profits.
And this, right here, is the core issue. When you actually model the finances of these new contracts, a pretty startling number pops out. A foreign contractor's share of the profit is less than 5%. In a super high-risk industry like this, that is a very low return. And it's probably not going to be enough to attract the billions and billions of dollars Iran so desperately needs.
So when you step back and put all the pieces together, you're left weighing this massive, massive potential against some truly formidable obstacles.
All right, let's just recap the full picture here. On one hand, you've got this phenomenal new discovery, but on the other, it's sitting right next to a severe domestic energy crisis. You're losing a production race against your neighbor because you're blocked from the tech you need, and the new deal you've cooked up to attract investment, it just might not be sweet enough to actually work.
Which brings us back to the final big question. Is this incredible discovery a genuine lifeline for Iran, something that can actually help them solve their problems? Or is it destined to become just another vast treasure locked deep underground, tantalizingly out of reach?
And that's where we'll leave it for today. Thanks so much for joining us here at the Global WarWatch Network.
Hey, if you found this breakdown useful, we'd really appreciate it if you'd like, share, and subscribe. But we really want to know, what are your thoughts on Iran's energy future? Drop them in the comments below. And hey, don't forget to join us over on social media. All the links for that are waiting for you in the description. Thanks again for tuning in.